Today there are a lot of interesting updates from the Pokrovsk direction. Here, the Russian assault near Pokrovsk descends into chaos, as poorly executed operations, inhumane treatment, and the sending of wounded soldiers on assaults led to devastating losses and ever-decreasing Russian morale. With Russian commanders resorting to handcuffing their soldiers together to prevent desertions, underlying issues remain unsolved, and Russian soldiers become increasingly unwilling to throw away their lives. The goal of the Russian forces in this area remains the same: to establish positions on the outskirts of Pokrovsk and the agglomerated settlements. The Russian offensive operation on the city's western flank near Kotlyne and Udachne is stalling, with Ukrainians launching counterattacks to limit Russian progress. By assaulting Pokrovsk directly, Russians hope to establish a foothold that would nullify their logistical issues caused by a lack of infrastructure to accumulate supplies. To achieve this, the Russian forces are utilizing their positions in the village of Peshane, launching assaults through the forests and tree lines that connected to the agglomerated settlements on the outskirts of Pokrovsk. The buildings and a nearby mine in Peshane allowed the Russians to accumulate a large enough force to launch pure infantry assaults through the narrow tree lines and forest patches to reach and initiate fighting for Zvirove. Through these tactics, Russians are trying to utilize the main advantage of their close proximity to Ukrainian positions in Zvirove. Russians are trying to use the tree lines and small forests in the area to conceal their troop movements along this already short distance, allowing Russian forces to quickly reach Ukrainian positions while minimizing losses along the way. However, Russian assaults are limited by a lake and a small river in the north, forcing them into a narrow funnel south of Zvirove, which Ukrainians have further reinforced with razor wire and landmines, forcing the Russian forces into casualty-intensive assaults. As Ukrainians understood that Russians could only move through this narrow area, they unleashed a swarm of reconnaissance drones equipped with thermal and night vision cameras to monitor the tree lines and strike any Russian forces attempting to attack. Combat footage from the area reveals how Ukrainians detected the movement of Russian forces with thermal cameras almost immediately after they left their cover. This allowed the Ukrainians to accurately strike the Russian assault with conventional artillery and cluster rounds, inflicting tremendous losses and leaving no survivors. In total, Russian commanders launched 4 waves of assaults along this tree line over the following 40 minutes, with complete disregard for the fact that Ukrainians kept destroying each wave they sent, forcing the Russian soldiers to climb over the deceased bodies of the previous waves. Additional footage from the aftermath of the attack shows one of the surviving Russian soldiers isolated in a dugout, filming himself and stating that his commander refused to evacuate him and the other wounded, leading to him being the only one left alive. Ukrainians quickly detected this soldier, providing him with food and water and guiding him back to Ukrainian lines so he could surrender himself. Russians also shared another video showing more wounded soldiers being prepared to go on assault while walking on crutches. As instances of extreme neglect by Russian commanders grow, the morale of Russian soldiers is reaching new lows, creating extreme dissatisfaction and risking massive desertions. Later footage shared by Russian soldiers in the Pokrovsk direction shows how the commanders solved this issue by tying their soldiers together with handcuffs as they were transported to the front, fearing these men would desert while on their way to the front. Besides the cruelty of such measures, Ukrainians also extensively target Russian transport vehicles moving to the front, meaning that if these trucks are hit, the Russian soldiers have a near zero chance of escaping the burning wreck alive. Overall, the mismanagement and poor treatment of their soldiers, combined with poorly executed assaults, are causing massive casualties among Russian forces. Further continuation of such costly assaults will lead to deterioration of combat readiness of remaining Russian forces, while the rapidly deteriorating morale is seeing Russian commanders implement increasingly distressing measures to prevent mass desertions among Russian soldiers. If you are against the invasion of Ukraine and you want to support the work that I am doing, consider subscribing to our own independent news website. Here you can find our exclusive strategic insights, comprehensive overviews of all fronts, and regular tactical analysis videos. By subscribing, you will not only show your support for this channel, but also help and defend independent journalism. The link to our website is in the description. Thank you for watching this report, and I appreciate everyone who stepped up to join us.